Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the voyages of 3 veteran Trekkies, Rich, Ian, and Toby. Their ongoing mission? To explore the vast Star Trek universe, to seek out new perspectives and fresh debates, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. Beyond the Final Frontier.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Final Frontier, a Star Trek podcast hosted by me, Rich Matthews, and as ever I'm joined by my fellow spacefarers, Mr. Ian Spelling.
Hey everybody.
And Mr. Toby Weidman.
Hello.
And today we're going to be going through a perennial Star Trek topic that comes up again and again and again, often the slant of how Star Trek has informed real life, but we're going to rank our top 7 technologies, Trek Tech. Everything is up for grabs that is featured as technology on Star Trek, whether that be small, big, whatever. It's all up for grabs today. So, shall we rotate the order this time? So how about, Ian, why don't you give us your number 7 piece of Trek Tech?
I was one of these ones where I had to go back and forth because I narrowed it down, and I'm going to go tricorder. By the way, for the record, all 7 of these are just awesome. I think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I love Star Trek for it. I wish any one of these things were real, although some of them are becoming real. It's part of what always appealed to me about Star Trek was the tech end of the equation complemented the stories and complemented the character arcs and complemented how they dealt with the aliens. All of that tied into the Prime Directive, tied into the concept of the Federation and Starfleet. So all of this stuff that we're talking about is entertaining unto itself, but also part and parcel of Star Trek as a whole. And the tricorder is right up there. Who didn't as a kid? I know I did. I had the who made it? Mego. Mego made the tricorder.
We never had Mego over here, did we?
No, not really.
Mego made the best, and everything was this kind of bright blue the color as well. Their tricorder, their little communicator, the other communicator base was blue, all of it. But anyway, the tricorder is just such a cool piece of equipment. It let Dr. McCoy react to something physical with his patients. And then obviously it's been used on and on and on in all the other series. We got Spock using it as well to check things out and determine what they were looking at. And it really did a lot of the work in terms of exposition on all of the shows, but especially the original show in terms of helping build the science fiction element into it. And it's just such a simple device. And I remember working when I was with StarTrek.com, Bob Picardo became fascinated by all of this stuff. And he got involved with a company that had a contest that literally challenged scientists to create a real tricorder. The things these people came up with, it was absolutely brilliant to me. The trick is that it was imperfect because some of the alien technology or some of the aliens themselves were so far advanced that even what was big deal for us with the tricorder in terms of where Star Trek was in its own timeline in the original series, even that was not perfect. And I always just thought it was really, really, really cool. They couldn't do the complete job, but it gave them a sense of where they were at. So I thought it was a brilliant tool, both as a plot device and a piece of tech.
Do you have a particular favorite design?
It's funny you said that the one that pops out directly into my mind is the one that McCoy uses that looks like an ultrasound device, I think is the coolest.
I have to assume Toby's got the tricorder higher in his list because he's been very coy with something that I know he's got.
He's being McCoy.
Yes. My 7th spot is the communicator, specifically the original series communicator by Hua Chang. This is the only one that I've really chosen for aesthetic reasons because we all have mobile phones. The mobile phones do more than the communicators in Star Trek ever could, really. But I just love the look of it. I fell in love with it straight away with the original series. I love that design. I always wanted one. I've actually never had a communicator, the original series communicator. I just think they're beautiful. I like the kind of that black bulky body and the perforated brass lid. The ones that they have in Enterprise and Disco, they're okay, but they just don't match up to the aesthetic of the original series, which is, I mean, it is a very 60s design. It's very simple. It's like 3 buttons or something with a circle on it. But I was always quite sad when they replaced it with the comm badge from TNG onwards, because I kind of missed it. However, the wrist communicators they have in the film are absolutely awful. I really don't like those bulky things. So the comm badge is definitely better than that. But yeah, it's there's not much more to say about it. I really like the communicator.
I'm the opposite. When they went to the comm badge, I thought it was awesome. That falls under yet again the rich rags on the original series slightly. I always thought it looked clunky. And as soon as it became the comm badge in Next Gen, it made much more sense to me.
Well, I think Roddenberry agreed with you. I think he said that the original communicator was way too big. He knew that things were going to get miniaturized as we go forward, and so it had to be that big in order for the prop to work.
They had a new one in the movies, didn't they? But it was even bigger than the one in the original series, which made no sense. They refined it. They lost the thing. The thing I agree with you that looked visually very interesting was the perforated copper sort of bronze look. They took that off.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why did you do that? That was the one thing that was nice.
It was made of brass, by the way, just so you know.
Brass, bronze. Copper wouldn't be good, it would oxidize, wouldn't it? Yeah. So my number 7 is the pad. Essentially the iPad that appears on first, I think it was on Next Gen, wasn't it? They're sort of big disky versions.
No, the original series has the big black pad which the ensigns, the yeomans used to write on.
Yeah. That Rand usually walks up to Kirk with, yeah.
Which looks like a clipboard though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
But the pad, I always liked that. And the reason I put it in at number 7 is because that's become real world, the iPad. Except like you said about the communicator, Tones, the iPad's so much better than the pad. Because it was always one screen with fixed buttons, and now it's just one big screen. The thing they got right was that it was sort of small and narrow. That's what Next Gen got right on that it was like almost like a piece of card. And of course, the only difference from that and now is you always had a stack of pads, implying that the pads could only contain the thing that was on the pad, as opposed to being a multi-access information device. And that's changed quite a lot. So, and then if you when you watched Prodigy Season 2, Episode 1, which we just did for our previous episode, What's His Chops has got what is more like a proper iPad with a click-out stand and everything. He takes out, pops it on the side, and it's like, oh, I see. We've gone the other way. Now the real-world iPad is informing the Star Trek pad. How interesting.
Number 6, Universal Translator.
It's my number 6 as well.
Wow.
Yeah, we're in sync again, Ian. What's going on?
Hell hath frozen over. I just think it's super cool. It would be higher up if there weren't so many other great options, which is, again, one of the things I think we all love most about Star Trek is when you're doing best of lists and you've got 60 years of material to work from, your number 10 on a list of 1 to 10 is going to be number 1 on a list of something that hasn't had such history.
Yeah.
So a universal translator is just an absolutely brilliant idea. It's more or less in effect now. You can pick up your iPhone or any Android phone and translate almost in real time when you're talking to somebody from another country.
Even more than that, there are devices that they come in 3 different forms, but I know one, for instance, you put an earbud in, and as someone is speaking AI, it immediately translates it into your ear. Yeah,
in real time. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Which is like the Ferengi one. The Ferengi one when they're going inside the ears and they're trying to fix it. And I love that.
Yeah. And, an episode like Darmok tells us why we need a universal translator. Now, sometimes it was very complicated in terms of how they deployed it in episodes across and movies across Star Trek. Was it done in real time? Was it not? Why does it work here but not there? When is it going to glitch? You know, that kind of a thing. But the concept, we're talking concepts here, not necessarily the application of it within the shows. It's just a great idea, the universal translator. And just the term, universal translator, is brilliant to me. And, you know, we call things universal remotes. Again, Star Trek was way ahead of the curve on some of this. And you have to realize, you know, especially younger people out there possibly listening to us old-timers here, that a lot of Star Trek tech inspired the people who created what they're using right now.
Absolutely.
There's just no question about it. We keep hearing about scientists and doctors and all of these folks who went into their fields of choice because of Star Trek and being influenced by either the character, the actor, or things like artificial intelligence and translators and tricorders and all of that. Translator to me was always just a fascinating tool, and it's a great storytelling device as well. Not a storytelling device, but a thing that helps push along the storytelling. You can get a lot of exposition in with what did they say? Oh.
Well, one of those things that the real world applications that I found really fascinating, and I think this was Larry Nemeczek when he used to write the Fistful of Data section for Star Trek magazine.
Yep.
He mentioned this, and it was the design of the bridge. Basically, the likes of the US Navy had modeled how they have bridges on submarines with the captain in the center, and then you've got the helmsman in front, and you've got comms to one side, and then you've got someone doing like navigation, radar or something like that. I always thought that was really cool, that was something that the design that they had was so good, it was then applied in real life situation. I thought that was great. Universal Translator is my sixth spot as well. Most of my list is based on what would make my life easier in the real world.
My number 2 is definitely that.
This is definitely one of them, because I've never been very good at learning foreign languages. I've just not been. It's something I always struggle retaining the vocabulary. That's the problem. And then when you have different styles of grammar in terms of how sentences are structured, my brain just thinks in English, and so I always struggled, particularly like French and things like that.
Oh, the syntax in those other languages. Oh, yeah.
I could just never grasp the anything that was followed different grammatical rules to English. So this would be an absolute godsend to me, the Universal Translator. And I think it's actually suggested that the Universal Translator helped Earth become peaceful, and different countries set aside their differences. I think that's in Enterprise.
Well, there's that great scene with the Klingon where they're trying to force their translator to catch up with the Klingon to try and match it, and I thought that was really interesting because you can see them like side-eyeing the Vulcans, going, in fact, the Vulcans are just shared. They know the Klingon. Why can't we? That was an interesting thing. I thought the humans were forced to only educate their universal translator through exposure.
I would just add that I think the concept of the universal translator does predate Star Trek.
The Babel fish. No, that's after, isn't it?
Well, I think it's widely regarded the first use was by Murray Leinster in the 1945 novella First Contact. And he used to write for Amazing Stories and Astounding Stories back in the 40s, 50s. So
fair enough. It's an intuitive thing, though, isn't it?
Don't know if that's the original, but, he is widely regarded.
How about that title?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
So my number 6 is the talking computer in various forms, specifically, if I'm honest, Majel.
I say you just want Majel whispering to you, don't you?
I do. And it was one of those things where when, in Picard season 3, where they go back on the bridge and they turn it on and it's her voice, it was like, whoa. But it's, again, interesting in the last 10 years that Siri, Alexa, all of those, sorry if your devices are going off, that is the same thing. Everyone in my house hated the fact when we first got our Alexas that I would go around and change all the activation words to computer. And they were like, what have you done that for? Oh, Star Trek, it's nice. Don't make me change up. Alexa means nothing, but computer makes sense. Oh, okay. And then weirdly and interestingly, in a sort of Star Trek adjacent thing, Amazon added Ziggy as a choice. Like from Blood Moon Quantum Leap. I was like, oh, I see. No, but I think it was a very pressing thing of having the computer being activated, voice activated, and then also responding with a voice, and has come to pass much, much earlier than Star Trek probably thought it would. So, Ian, you're number 5.
My number 5 is the holodeck.
What's going on, Ian? Jeez.
Bingo! Same as me. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, the holodeck, I believe, was more of an entertainment construct in Star Trek, meant to be able to, hey, let's have different costumes. Let's be able to do interesting stuff. When you think about the science in some of it, is what happens in the holodeck spill over into the real world or not? It's up for debate. But just,
who's on mop duty?
Yeah.
Oh. Especially on DS9. Ugh. Poor Ron.
Well, following Riker.
Right? But
the poor janitor.
But just as a piece of entertainment for mixing things up on the show,
it was a stroke of storytelling genius.
Absolutely priceless. You could do anything with this. Let's go be merry men. Let's go do whatever. Let's go do a Sherlock Holmes type of story. All of it. And there's payoff in it, even in Picard when they brought Moriarty back. So it's just a really fun, cool idea. Your head will explode, I think, if you think too much about it. Even that, scientifically, they've been trying to figure out how to do something like it. It just works on the show. It's super inventive. It's pure sci-fi.
Absolutely.
And it's got a fantasy element to it that is fun to play with.
And actually, that's a really good bit of insurrection. We've talked about insurrection. In fact, we didn't talk about that and the idea of having the Baku all transported inside the holoship. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
If you were going to talk about big ideas, that sense of what is real in a sort of perception sort of way, and could you just exist on holodeck? In theory, you could, right? Couldn't you? You could not. You never have to leave, as Berkeley discovered.
Yeah. Well, you could live your whole life on a holodeck. And what if somebody on the holodeck didn't know that they were on a holodeck? I mean, it's been done.
Yeah, absolutely.
All sorts of story options there. You can do it for fun. You can have it be corrupted and be a menace. You can have people stuck in it forever. What if somebody's trapped half in, trapped out, half out? And there's all sorts of ways you can play with it.
The holodeck is amazing as long as the safeguards don't fail.
Correct.
You're in trouble.
Exactly.
But then, Emily, for me, one of the key next-gen tipping episodes towards, if I'm asked to sort of recommend next-gen and avoid the chaff, if you see what I mean, one of those episodes is Elementary Dear Data every time.
Yeah.
And it's also the first time that I liked the holodeck. Because the Big Goodbye was fine, and that's all great and fun, but it was what you said, Tobes, which is that the use of the holodeck to create an AI entity, and then what happens to safety, and then the fact that they show you how some of it works, that was a really fertile story, and from that moment on, I think the holodeck became something palpable.
And they also used it nicely on Deep Space with the holo suites.
The closest we have at the moment is probably VR.
Maybe AR, though. Maybe AR.
Well, I think VR, you're still having to wear headsets and headphones and haptic body suits, and they have those running machines where you can actually be running around now in them as well. You're kind of like in a confined space. I've certainly been to some exhibitions where it's all VR, and all it is a very big room, and you just wander around the space. And the space that you're looking at, there are objects and people and things in it, but it's still not quite there yet as what we would like.
No, when we were playing with the VR last time I was at yours, Tobes, the thing is that there's still a lot of anti-biology tech required to make VR work. So it's trying to imply something's far away, but in fact your eye is focused only an inch from your face. Whereas the thing about the holodeck is that is so alluring is that idea that you are functioning with it as normal as such, and everything is working around you. The trick is that it looks exactly like life, as opposed to it being something that's right here and causes all sorts of potential issues.
My question to you guys is, if the full holodeck experience was a reality, what would be your first pick? What would you like to do?
You mean safe for work?
Yes. Yes, none of your filth, sir.
Do you mean what would you?
Well, I'll tell you what I would like to, and this is very appropriate to what we do. I would like to wander around the original Starship Enterprise.
Just go up to Ticonderoga. That's taken care of for real.
But I mean a full ship and taking the turbo lift and actually works and takes you down to engineering and going into the crew quarters and all that kind of stuff. I'd like to do it on all the ships actually.
Well, I think it's two then. Yeah, one of mine would require a huge amount of utilization of the technology, which is I would like to fly around like Superman.
The reality of that would be is you're probably just lying on the floor doing that, right? Unless it would have jets in it that would make you hover and float or something.
Yeah. Jet boots.
I would pull a Flatliners. I would want to know what death is like and experience what comes after and then live to tell about it.
Wow.
How would they program that into like a pizza?
That's not my problem. You just gave me what I would want to do.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Way to bring it down.
No, that's bringing it up, dude. I would say hello to my mom and my dad and my brother and my dog, and I have lunch with Gene Roddenberry. I mean, there's also...
that's true. If it was a recreation, I'd like to walk around 1930s New York. If it was a recreation.
That's a cool pick, yeah. I'd quite like to go back to Victorian London, actually.
I'd see a Beatles concert.
Here's your pop quiz. First appearance of the holodeck, although it wasn't actually called the holodeck, in Star Trek.
It's not Encounter at Farpoint then, is it?
It predates TNG.
The Cage.
I mean, on the Starship.
The animated series?
It is the animated series, yeah. Season 2 is The Practical Joker. There you go. Well done. You passed.
Well, Josh Roddenberry didn't have any new ideas by TNG.
But I don't think I was wrong with The Cage. It's an iteration of it, no question.
Right then, on to our number 4s. Ian.
I would go with warp drive. You know, we've done the speed of light in our real world. Warp drive would be the next extension of that. And I do think we will get there one day when we figure out the mechanics and, watching Artemis. And my wife and I were discussing this last night. Like, when that lands, it's coming in at crazy speed, but it's landing at like 20 miles an hour with all of the parachutes when it hits the water. But my question was, how quickly did it cool off? If it was going 5,000 degrees accepting that heat, it can only deflect so much heat. It has to absorb some.
Boggles the mind, doesn't it?
Right. When it hits the water, does that cause that water to boil? Is it still that hot on the outside, on the surface of the lander? I was fascinated by it, and I would love to know the answer to that question, which is why warp drive fascinates me so much. Just the heat, the speed, the gravitational pull, and then, of course, the fact that we don't wear seatbelts on our starships. Hello?
Inertial dampers, man. The inertial dampers, whatever that actually means. I did know once. I used to be able to give you the technical manual answer, but now I can't.
I think that's your number 1, isn't it? Then the dampers? That would be really funny if we made that number 1.
My number 4 is the tricorder.
Same as me. My number 4 is a tricorder. Yeah.
Very specifically, the medical tricorder. And if I was to pick, we had this discussion, but I would pick the next gen one with the one in the top.
Same.
It would be with the hand scanner, and I just think having something that could tell you what is ailing you would be absolutely incredible and much more useful to me on an everyday basis than a standard tricorder. I do wonder how hypochondriacs would deal with it and whether it would actually improve them by telling them what's wrong with them, or whether it would just make them worse and they'd be constantly scanning themselves. I imagine the medical healthcare organizations probably wouldn't like it. I can't imagine doctors particularly like self-diagnosing patients, but the drug companies would probably love it because everyone would be, I've got this illness, I need drugs. More drugs to sell.
It's mine too. It's my flip device. The flip device I like is the next gen tricorder. Just in terms again of how visually how it functioned. You talk about show don't tell. It was absolutely obvious what was going on in next gen when they open a tricorder and go like that. And the lights go and it whirs and beeps and and that just made sense. In storytelling terms, it simplified and clarified something which was clunky if you didn't know what a tricorder was.
This may be apocryphal, but I understand that it's the wonderful Gates McFadden, friend of the pod, who came up with she wanted exactly specifics on what buttons she should be pressing. And so she came up with exactly what did what when she was scanning stuff, which I think is quite cool. Actor working with the prop and the prop department.
Indeed. All right. Okay then, Ian, what's your number 3?
The transporter
Ooh.
is my number 3. We're not getting anywhere if we don't have the transporter. I love dating back to, I'm not a gigantic fan of the motion picture, but just McCoy's reaction when he beams back onto the ship and he's all cranky and angry and has his beard and all of that. When I think the transporter, that's the first scene that comes back to mind. But then you've got the space dog with the horn, the enemy within is silly now, but the concept of that is just so cool where they're kind of, morphed together. So many things can go wrong. People can get mutated, all of that. They really never truly explored the concept of that, Tuvix, but it does get interesting. But in terms of, hey, we can't just land on planets unless you're J.J. Abrams. How are we going to get down on a planet? You can't always just take a transporter, shuttle, or whatever the case may be. So the transporter is a great scientific tool for getting people where they need to go. Again, the science of it is really interesting to me. Could it be done?
It is now proven science. Quantum teleportation of particles.
Right.
Yeah, where do you stand on the annihilation issue?
Well, this is the interesting philosophical question. The way they are talking about it now is that the original that goes into the transporter is destroyed and what appears is a clone. So you're not the same person, basically. Yeah, it's an interesting thought.
So all of our Wayuns have been through the transporter a lot. Is that what you're basically saying?
Well, the Prestige asks that question, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It's probably the most accessible
version of that.
Yeah. And that is actually what McCoy's implies.
Yeah.
And that is terrifying, though, because that's basically like, is there life after death? Because you don't know. You won't know.
Right.
Ever.
Unless you go in the holodeck.
And flatline.
Yeah.
See, it all comes together, people. Stay with us.
But this is the one, though, in terms of convenience. This is what would change. We're talking about time in life. The transporter is the one I covet. The technology, which if it didn't kill you every time, if we established that it didn't do that, just the idea of being able to go from place to place to place to place. Like, the idea of being able to go to the way that anyone on Earth can go have dinner in Paris if they wish, the same moment, just moments, because that transporter is not very far at all, That sort of thing is very appealing. As a barrier, a reduction of barrier and bringing us together. You talk about universal translator bringing humanity together, true, but also removal of genuine geographic barriers would help too.
It would also facilitate invasion if you think about it on a negative way. You could just beam in attacking armies.
Well, glass half full over here. We'll think about it bringing humanity together.
Well,
interesting.
Exactly. You know how my brain works.
And you've just illustrated it beautifully.
This is in my second spot, and again, it's a quality of life thing. It's
in my second spot too.
The number of times I've been travelling back from somewhere and I've usually drunk from a night out and just wished I could instantly teleport home. Yeah, going on vacation, you just step onto a transporter pad and
go.
No jet lag. Oh,
no flights, no stress, no jet lag. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think I would want the Starfleet Academy style where they can just beam and zip everywhere. I think I would like almost like an airport.
You don't want site to site. You want it to be a formalized. You go in the room to take you there.
Yeah. I think that's how I would personally like it. I think it needs to be regulated. That's my number 2 spot. My number 3 spot is actually the replicator. And particularly the food replicator. Earl Grey hot and all that. Although I think I would probably go IPA beer cold. I actually really enjoy cooking. That would still be my primary choice, but there are days well, I just can't be bothered. And today's ready meals, they're not particularly healthy. So that would be something that it would have to be self-imposed caveats. How Counsellor Troi maintained her figure when she was just munching chocolate constantly.
I think I read a thread. I read a thread about this. It is, and I think I agree with this sentiment. I can't remember where I was reading it, which is basically, surely, given all the technologies they're talking about, all the medical advancements,
they just got rid of the sugar,
the replicator, the use of, surely they can make, in the same way they got rid of they made synthahol. Surely, at this point,
yeah, maybe.
Or alternatively, that they have a way of stopping you getting fat.
Yeah.
Surely. Because if obesity was a threat to health, then surely there's something at this point. But it is it's in my honourable mentions for that reason, which is, I think I agree with you.
I just instantly recreate your favourite food and drink. It'd just be amazing, wouldn't it? It'd free up so much time.
I'm going to virtue signal in the sense that I think if you thought about it in terms of curing famine and world hunger, yes.
That as
in terms of me being able to stuff my face, I don't need that. It's already bad enough.
But this is what it's. You have to do that. You have to be self-imposed. And I, as I said, I enjoy cooking. Maybe people who don't like cooking, I like going in the kitchen and actually inventing stuff. So, I'll grab ingredients. It doesn't always turn out nice, but I like to at least experiment. And I do like the fact that Star Trek has not got rid of the idea completely. I mean, Cisco and Pike are the prime examples. They still do cook, and their food looks fantastic. Neelix as well. Yeah. I don't think about Neelix in any way, shape, or form.
but that's a good point, which is without the unlimited resources that you have in the Alpha Quadrant, they simply can't burn the energy in the same way. They can't risk using the energy on the replicators on a mass scale, so they have a chef. That's a good idea. I like that as a limitation. Well, my number 3 we've already covered, which is the universal translator. I did originally have a tie, but we know how we feel about ties, Ian. I had the communicator and the hearer's earpiece, and I just thought, actually, the universal translator is ultimately the expression of all of that. The ability to talk to anyone anyway, essentially, is great. So Ian, that brings to your number 2.
Number 2 is the communicator for me. I just always thought it was a cool piece of tech. I thought it did the job. The science of it always cracked me up because my toy communicator was basically a walkie-talkie. And here we were playing with this literally as a toy as a kid, mimicking what they were doing on Star Trek, which is, in some cases, talking thousands of miles away from each other, on a ship down to a planet type of thing, or on a view screen even. We'll take that the next step. So I just thought the communicator was a very cool way. Again, all of it, I think I've said it for all 7 of these. These are all devices that serve story and character and action functions. The thing that interests me most about Star Trek tech is the solution in many ways causes more and or different problems for the people using them.
It's true to life, absolutely.
Right? It's totally true to life, and it creates moral and ethical dilemmas. Okay, I don't know if anybody is going to use this as their number 1, but data as an AI could be one of our answers to this, right? He could be number 1 for either of you, for all I know. Is he real? Is he sentient? Is he worthy of rights? It brings in all of those ethical questions just with this one science fiction idea of a robot, of an AI. And I'm sure, the communicator was built on the concept of the telephone, right? And then the communicator with the flip, I was going to get it out of my closet. I still have one of my flip cell phones.
Yeah, me too.
And the chocolate was, I think, a Verizon phone, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But it's still my favorite.
Motorola flip phone was mine.
I've never had one. I only wanted it because of the Star Trek. That's when I do it.
Right.
As soon as I could, I was like, I want one. I got to get one. And then I was sad when the iPhone came out because it's like, oh.
One of the cute, fun, practical products that was licensed by CBS, as a Star Trek item was a cell phone that was a flip phone communicator. And that was more recent because it's got all the bells and whistles and the buttons you press and all of it, and it will make that beeping sound.
I'm very sad because like the one company which did the tricorder, they did a communicator that actually it connects via Bluetooth and you can make calls through it and everything, and they sold out, and I discovered it way too late. They've done the phaser as well, and those were all sold out. That's why when I saw them doing the tricorder, it was like, I mean, the tricorder is the dream because it's something that I've wanted since I was probably 6 when I first saw Star Trek. So that has fulfilled a dream, but I did always want a working communicator.
Very cool.
Sadly no longer available. Hopefully, maybe one day they'll bring out some extras. My number 2 is transporter.
Same as mine. But the one thing I would say, last thing about the transporter is it's also a great example of when the Star Trek science works really nicely in the fact that it has the Heisenberg compensator to address the Heisenberg principle of chaos and how you wouldn't be able to rebuild or maintain a pattern and all of those things. Which is they don't really give you how they do it, because of course they don't know how. But by naming their MacGuffin the Heisenberg compensator, it clicks. And that's when the techno-babble is, I think, at its strongest, where it takes an existing problem, acknowledges that there is a scientific block at the time of writing, but this principle has been overcome by something, by someone. And I always like that. Beautifully named and illustrative, and that's so satisfying. And that's, again, the difference often between Star Trek and other science fiction elements is that it is fantastical, but with enough grounding, with enough, at least tipping of the hat towards real-world science, that you feel grounded, and therefore it does feel like an evolution rather than a fantastical notion.
Would you have any fear of using it if it existed?
I said that, yeah. I think it would have to be proven. I've seen The Fly too many times. The Fly is one of my the Jeff Goldblum version is one of my favourite films. So you're saying I'm pissed I'm going to get on the night instead of getting a night busting in a teleport. In my head, that's when the Fly lands in your beam, and that's it. You come out and you're like, oh!
Matthew's Fly. I could just see it now. Matthew's Fly.
Well, what was the episode with Reg Barkley where he sees the kind of worms floating around in the...
Oh, yeah. And he's like, and it goes towards him. Like, yeah. Which is the first time I think we'd seen the POV inside the beam, isn't it? Yeah, it's the first time we'd seen it, which is interesting to see how the dematerialization and materialization happens from that point of view.
But Commander Sonak's scream and the other one that no one ever knows what, the random that's in there as well, that does haunt me a little bit.
Enterprise. What came back didn't live long, fortunately. I think that it would be I think I probably couldn't do it just because of that. That
0.01% is still a 0.01%.
True. Yeah.
I know my luck.
That you're dead.
I'd be in there in a minute. If it was proven safe enough, I would do it. Look, I want a bungee jump on my list. I've gone parachuting, skydiving. I've done that. So on my list is bungee jumping, which I've never done. I want to live until I die.
Toby's parachuted, didn't you?
It's weird, isn't it? I've jumped out of a plane as well. I never want a bungee jump. I don't know. It's the snap of the rope. It makes me feel queasy. Number ones then.
Ian, number 1.
I'm going to go with the replicator, boys and girls. Got to go with the replicator. One, I want what I want, and I'm not going to apologize for it because they'll probably have some sort of fat-burning pill or something along those lines. Or maybe I could get that full taste, no-calorie ice cream sundae that I want.
If that's true, like the transporter, if that's true, I'm with you.
I do not like to cook. I do not like to watch people cook. I do not like to wait for people to cook. I do not like to spend the money.
Right, I'm rescinding my invite for you to come round for dinner.
Well, just to have it ready when I get there. I just don't want to watch you make the fucking meal.
Or watch you eat it either.
Well, if he's sitting across from me and eating at the same time, I can handle it. As long as he doesn't, my mom used to count my chews. That used to drive me nuts.
Oh, God.
Because I would eat too quickly. But my old boss,
it's like a fucking shovel.
Yeah, no, he's using his communicator to go, have it ready when I beam in, eat the food out.
Exactly. And I would say this sucks in 6 different languages, so they'd have to use the universal translator.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the replicator would be my big thing. All joking aside, cooking, I don't love the concept of, I understand creating something and enjoying it. Please don't get me wrong. But the idea of spending all this money on the ingredients, like you have to buy a thing of cumin to add, and you'll use cumin once in your life. So 10 years from now, you'll throw out that bottle of cumin for the stupid meal that you made in 2026. Sorry, just not happening. I just have no interest in it. I sound like a jerk with this, but I just don't understand the pleasure. It's just the time to prepare and cook all of this stuff could take hours to have a 10-minute dining session. It's just the payoff isn't worth it. And at the end of the day, if you're spending $40 to make a $30 dish, I'd rather just pay the $30 at a nice restaurant and have it be a BYOB and have a nice bottle of wine with it, rather than wait for somebody to cook me something, which I know you're never going to do anyway for me, Toe.
I'm going to politely disagree with you in that the cooking process is fun, and the fact that then you get to eat it and taste
the spoils of your effort. Yeah, I get it.
If it's good, you can really pat yourself on the back, and if you have a guest round and they like it as well, that's even better.
I'm with Ian.
Look, we're all writers, right? I get the idea of we're proud when we write a good sentence or a good lead. I totally get the concept, Toby. I would like a replicator so that I could have what I want when I want it, don't have to waste anybody's time or my own, and be perfectly happy. And again, if it's a modern day thing where we can control the calorie intake, or there's some way for me not, for my ice cream sundae to be healthy, count me in, baby. Give me 2.
All of your 5 a day from the ice cream sundae. Why not? Come on, Star Trek can cross universes.
How many different flavors of ice cream are there again?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we had Baskin-Robbins. 30 wonderful flavors was their motto.
Okay.
So, sorry, I'm going with the replicator.
There we are.
By the way, I left out the pad, which I noticed, but that would probably be number 8 on my list. And again, AI. Nowhere in here have we used AI or the tractor beam or some of the other things that are part and parcel of Star Trek, but
Cloaking device.
Cloaking device.
Cloaking device is one of my honorables, as for instance.
Yeah. Well, that originated in Harry Potter, didn't it?
Sorry, that's too big a laugh. But
it's a good joke. I love the look at the original series phaser, but I just don't want phasers to exist in real life.
Yeah, we have enough problem with guns, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. But I do love aesthetically, I love that look as well. Again, it's the original series one.
I always thought the phaser rifle was the coolest thing from the original series, and then it disappeared.
I actually, a pet hate of mine, genuinely in the original series, was the little tiny phaser. I hate that.
Yeah, but that fits in the top. It fits in the top.
Right, it fits in the top and it opens garages.
That makes more sense to me, Ian.
Well, you wouldn't want a phaser to open your garage.
So what's your number 1, Tobes?
My number 1, and this is very much a personal choice, it's the hypospray. It's really just, I'm not a fan of needles. I never have been. It borders on a phobia.
So you want to take your heroin with a hypospray instead of a needle?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I used to go to the dentist and not have the injection. I just let them drill into the tube. Yeah.
Fuck, really?
Me too. I hated Novocaine.
What?
I was more scared of the injection. I could handle the pain.
You guys are crazy. You Bill Murray pair, aren't you? Little Shop of Horrors. Oh.
Novocaine makes me want to puke. It's so bitter. And you're drooling and you're biting your gums and your lip. I would rather suffer in pain, each a little zzz. I used to go to my dentist all the time. I was his first patient who came in with a Walkman and played my music so I didn't have to hear the drill because I refused to let him use Novocaine.
You're crazy, the pair of you.
Sorry, stealing your thunder here, Tobes. Go ahead.
God damn it.
No. I mean, that's exactly. I didn't have the headphones, but that's exactly. I'd rather go through just the drill. I can handle it. I'd rather have that than have the sting of the syringe. And then, as you said, the whole biting your cheek and drooling and not being able to eat properly. And
how about that awful needle? That needle could, sometimes it would look like a paper punch where they gave you the shot, but sometimes it was this giant needle that was like right out of Clockwork Orange.
I got better with it because, as you get older, you have to do numerous blood tests. And so, there's no real escaping it. But if there was a way for them to not puncture the skin, and I know there are real world versions of this. I think they're called jet injectors.
They don't look pain-free.
Yeah, I see absolutely no downside to this piece of tech at all.
Yeah.
I particularly like the TNG version, putting it in the neck and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really just a very personal choice. I would love for them to have this so I can do away with having to be needles stuck in my skin.
I respect that fully. Fully respect that.
Well, my number one is warp drive because it encapsulates everything about Star Trek. Boldly going, the limitless potential of humanity. I never liked light speed. That seemed a bit tedious, even though they did try to hyperdrive it later or whatever, but there was something eloquent about the warp field, the distortion of space, and I love the effect on screen, especially in the motion picture in Wrath of Khan, when
a rainbow
effect, yeah.
But yeah, I love that, and it was always a bit sad that they'd lost that. Like the transporter, like you said about the airport terms, I want it to be a big thing when you go to warp speed. It should be a moment of awe and inspiration. And also because it stimulated, like a lot of Star Trek we've talked about on consumer electronic level to some degree, it has stimulated a field of inquiry. This makes more sense to scientists than light speed, than traveling faster than light in the Einstein sense, in the fact you would have to travel through time. This tries to get round that inherent problem with traveling faster than light. You would move fast, but the world around you would be left behind. This is deliberately designed to provide you with something that goes at great speed that answers that physics problem. And I always like that. And nothing says Star Trek more to me than the warp ship. Everything's founded on it. The first contact with Zephyr Cochrane and the Vulcans, it encapsulates everything. And I still think it's probably unattainable. I think it's probably too fantastical. Yeah, it is the Star Trek technology.
It's also a smart narrative device in terms of it gets rid of, that whole Buck Rogers in the 21st century and taking decades to reach somewhere. I didn't pick it because most of my ones are things that I think would help me on the everyday.
Which I get. Totally right. Both your choices are good.
It's just mine's better, you say.
No, different. I feel like I've somehow given you both a chip for your shoulders. I like human edifice on a grand scale. I like it's like. I like skyscrapers. I like it when we, on a grand scale, move beyond nature into some degree, and that's probably one of the reasons I love that scene I love in the motion picture is the size. It's the first time the Enterprise feels huge and big and represents our ambitions and aspirations as a species to improve and better and progress. It's probably a superficial thing on my part, but the scale of that is always struck me. So just the sheer size of the warp drives need to be, the nacelle has to be, and the massive amount of energies that are required. It's just something grandly human about it in terms of our potential. And that is the thing that Roddenberry put at the centre of Star Trek that makes Star Trek so exceptional for me.
He's always got to bring it back to the nacelles, hasn't he, Ian?
Yeah.
Constantly. It's a really dirty obsession of his.
It is. It's kind of sexual.
They're things of beauty. As ever, please let us know your top Star Trek technologies, your tech trek. Either send us a message on social media or send us an email or just comment on the platform wherever you're listening to the pod. We'd be very interested to know, especially if there's ones that haven't even occurred to us, which is always fascinating, good to hear. But before we go, related to this, Toby and I were lucky enough to go to the London Science Museum's new 60th anniversary Star Trek exhibition.
Specifically to go and see the Wrath of Khan on the big screen, on their very big IMAX screen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There is something wonderfully apt Same way that having the Enterprise and the Smithsonian in Washington is the same. There's something really pleasing about being in this one of the world's best museums to science, and Star Trek's there, front and center. What did you think, Toby?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The trip, I want to go back. We were kind of hurrying because we wanted to go to see the film, and Rich's train was sadly slightly delayed getting into
If
London.
only I'd had warp drive or a transporter or anything that we mentioned.
Yeah. But I think what they had on there was good, was interesting. There was a decent variety of memorabilia. We both spent money in the shop, so that says something. And that what they're selling, some is unique, some is licensed merchandise. Seeing the film on the big screen, on the biggest screen, was very, very enjoyable. I hadn't seen it on the big screen since I was a nipper when it originally came out, and Rich had never seen it on the big screen. So
No, never. No, I the first Star Trek film I saw in the cinema was Star Trek 4.
So it was just a wonderful experience.
And I have, of course, seen the motion picture, though.
The 4K restoration, yeah.
The reissue of the director's cut in the cinema, which is, yeah. And what was interesting, though, was they had a title card before the film which did say not optimized for IMAX, and it did make a collective snigger go round the audience.
But sold out screening.
Yeah. We know it's a great movie. We're on record already as all agreeing on that it's the best Star Trek film. But the interesting thing was, having now seen 2, is the one thing which I did sort of come away with was that there is still a big gap in terms of being cinematic between the motion picture and everything that followed. Star Trek 2 is a better film, no dispute there, but there's something about the way that film looks on the cinema screen. That was something else. But I would say if you get a chance to see Wrath of Khan on the big screen, and on IMAX as well, it is just amazing how well it holds up.
I distinctly remember, this is 40 plus years later now, it's going on 45 years, when McCoy is on regular 1 and the hand flips down and he says, oh, rig is set in. That scene still pops into my head. That, of course, along with the little SETI eel in the ear. And that close-up of it is really cool. How graphic.
Well, the close-up of, the one thing we noticed is of McCoy. The close-up of McCoy's face in reaction to that. It's a tight on DeForest Kelly, and seeing that in IMAX, when we were saying one of the things which it showed you is how good they all are. Because the performances were so magnified that even Montalban, there was deep, rather than it feeling even bigger than it did before, there were just things you didn't see.
Yep.
The little things that were just
that was the thing, is I think that we both came away noticing things that we'd never seen in the film before.
Yeah, how could you not, especially if you hadn't seen it on a big screen?
Yeah, I'd seen it 50 odd times, more maybe.
Because I've seen the film so many times, a ridiculous number of times, but it was just wonderful to see it. And I would say if you are in London, the exhibition is running until September 5th or 6th, something like that. I highly recommend it. I mean, if you're a Star Trek fan, you should go to the Science Museum anyway, because it's packed with fantastic things.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
The fact that it's got some extra Star Trek stuff, including some exclusive merch. They are showing every single film on the IMAX screen, one a week. If you get the opportunity, definitely go. It's fantastic, and it's free. It's contribution only. So obviously, I'm sure they would love you to contribute. But if you don't have the cash, you can still go.
The thing I walked away with, just for consistency, is I got a new remastered, lovely printed Star Trek motion picture poster, number 76 of 2000, available. So yeah, I was very, very happy with that to take home. And and on a side point, as I put it on the wall, because I never had it this size, and I put it up framed and put on the wall. We've had all that stuff recently about Star Trek. But is it woke? Is it not? Is it woke? And I just looking at the poster, going, it's basically a Pride poster. And I was like, nothing says Star Trek better than that. Wow, Roddenberry. So on that note, thank you very much again. Hopefully we'll, as we say, send us your picks of the best top Trek tech. God, say that fast 3 times. And see you soon beyond the final frontier.
Peace, love, and logic, everybody.
And to our bit.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Final Frontier, a Star Trek podcast with Rich Matthews, Ian Spelling and Toby Weidman. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email us on beyondffpod@gmail.com or check us out on social media. You can even join our Patreon at BFF Beyond the Final Frontier. Huge thanks go out to Alex Weidman for the brilliant original music. Please search Alex Weidman Composer on YouTube to hear the full fantastic theme and more. Also thanks goes to award-winning voiceover artist Cissy Jones for our excellent opening monologue. Find out more about her incredible work at cissyjones.com. And of course, last but not least, our brilliant artwork comes from the designer Russell Seal. Discover more of his work on behance.net/Russell Seal. Thanks again and see you next episode Beyond the Final Frontier.